have one really cool piece of news. I'm not sure how many people of you have seen social media, but we are now a B Corp. Certification, and which is very exciting, and that actually leads us into our guest speaker. It's my great pleasure to introduce Greg Hemmings. He's a filmmaker and an entrepreneur who's committed to using the powerful medium of film to inspire positive social action. His commercial production company, Hemmings House, helps good companies tell great stories to help them become greater contributors to a happier and kinder world. That's a pretty good intro. Greg Hemmings.
It's a real honor to be asked to be here tonight for a number of reasons. One is we became a B Corp, I'd say about 1.5 years ago, so we're coming up onto our 2-year anniversary of being a B Corp, where now we actually have to start recertifying. So every 2 years, the credit union is going to have to go back to the certification process and prove through measurements and numbers that this organization is continuing to get better and better and better at servicing the community and making sure that you are honoring what is called the triple bottom line. Does anybody have any idea what I mean when I say triple bottom line? Hands up for triple bottom line. Okay, the good news, I think it's exciting that not a lot of hands went up actually, because you're not alone. 1.5 years ago, before we were a B Corp, I didn't know what a triple bottom line was either. But in business, we typically measure one bottom line. And what is that? What's the bottom line on the balance sheet that we want to measure?
Money, profit.
Profit. So, and that's the way capitalism has built business, and it's we've built an incredible society based on measuring that one bottom line. However, there's more than one stakeholder that we as business owners need to honor, and that's outside of just making profit. That's people and the planet. So companies that are not only the best in the world at what they do, but the best for the world, are the businesses that are considered triple bottom line. So we, as a B Corp, we're measuring profit. We have to. We can't do anything good for our communities and make positive social and environmental change without cash in today's society. So we need profit. If we're not honoring people, we're not going to be a sustainable business, are we? If we're going to continue to exploit workers and pay people less than living wages, and anything that leads to a destruction of someone's society or family or life is the type of business that is not acceptable anymore. So we measure companies based on their positive impact on society. And for the environment, as you probably know, there's a very high standard now, a high expectation in our consumer base, in our culture now, for companies to behave. We're not there yet, but the B Corp movement is really holding companies at a very high standard. For example, if I was in the clothing production business, which I'm not, if I was, I could still source my materials from Bangladesh, but I'd have to prove that the employees that are working there are getting paid more than a fair living wage. I'd also have to prove that the whole supply chain is respecting the values of B Corp. I'd also have to prove that the chemicals that are being used to dye this beautiful jacket were not dumped into the rivers. So that's what B Corp is doing, and it's so exciting to see the financial sector jump into B Corp. I'm also assuming that many people in the room don't even know much about B corporations. And later on tonight, just check out bcorporation.net, and you're going to learn a lot of really neat things about this new community that we're welcoming you into. And in Atlantic Canada, we've got a number of us that are starting to sprout up, so it's very exciting. Worthy of another round of applause for you. And if you can remember, you all have pens, you might want to write this down. There's a film on YouTube called Not Business as Usual. Some friends of mine in Vancouver made it about the B Corp community in Vancouver. It explains everything you need to know. It's your cheat sheet. And you're going to soon find out that you're part of a movement that's a global movement, and it's doing some amazing things. And I want to help bring you into understanding what the B Corp world is. So let's just rewind a little bit. Let's go to the next slide. That's my team, by the way. So as I mentioned, B Corps measure people, planet, and profit. Years ago, I found myself working on a sailboat with this ragtag crew here. This is Captain Paul, Charlene, Jamie, aka the Worm Man, and me, right in the middle. And I accepted an opportunity to jump on a sailboat in the Caribbean and work for a very long time as a sailor. And we sailed cargo all through the Caribbean and South America, all by wind. And this was not a not-for-profit, this was not a government-run organization. This was Captain Paul's business, and he'd been living on the sailboat for 35 years. He told me he'd spent 8 nights not on that boat. Like, him and that boat were stuck together. It's called the Aventure. The story leading up to me getting on the boat is very interesting. Don't have time to tell you about it right now, but it's almost unbelievable. I got a passport in 12 hours. This is before 9/11. End up on this boat. No idea what type of cargo we're going to be moving. I actually thought we might be moving drugs or guns. I had no idea. But as a young buck, I might have been like 22 in this picture. I was just all about adventure. I had a long history of being a young entrepreneur, mowing lawns, making T-shirts. I've always had a love for people. I've always had a real desire to live in a just society where equal rights were respected, and I never understood people who would demean other people. Like, I've always had a heart for humans, and when I saw injustices in the world, it really bothered me. The day I got onto the boat, I asked Captain Paul, "We're not doing anything illegal here, are we?" He said, "No, we're going to be sailing down into Suriname, which is a country down in South America, just between Brazil and Guyana. And we're going to be actually going into the rainforest, getting some wood, and sailing it up to Martha's Vineyard, where the wooden boat builders are, and they're paying top dollar for this wood." And I immediately felt sick to my stomach, because everything I've heard about, us pillaging the rainforest of South America, I was like, well, what am I doing here? Okay, but it's an adventure. I guess I'll check it out. But I really, it didn't sit right with me. But I was like, okay, let's do it. So we sailed. It took us weeks to get down. We were based in St. Martin in the Caribbean. It took us quite a few. I think it was 2 weeks to get to Suriname. And when we got there, I saw the most amazing operation. It was a small, locally owned mill using Aboriginal foresters who were selectively cutting wood. Suriname actually has a very good forestry system there. It's a very sustainable country with their rainforest. I learned this while I was there. So if a boat builder needed a piece of wood that goes like this for the bowsprit, the order would go down. An Aboriginal forester would go find that tree, selectively cut it, bring it to the mill, and we'd sail it. So very minimal carbon footprint on that whole organization. Very minimal negative environmental impact. So I started analyzing this and talking to Paul, who's been doing this for many years, over the many months that I was with him. He really explained to me his type of business, which is minimal negative environmental impact. We want to bring employment to the right types of people. And we want to serve communities that are underserved. And if we could do it all by the power of wind, then that's great. He didn't call it a triple bottom line, but I knew exactly that that's what it was. I was like, this guy is making profit by servicing communities that are marginalized and employing people that need to be employed, and we're doing it with a minimum negative impact on the environment. So I really learned a lot of my values for business from Captain Paul. After a term of maybe 3 or 4 years in the Caribbean, I filmed everything that I was down there. When I was in the sailboat, I bought a video camera, and this is kind of what got me into telling stories. So after I left the Caribbean, came back home, I started filming documentaries that I really cared about. A lot of music documentaries. I go to music festivals all over North America, and I'd film them here. I was filming the G7 protests in Halifax. Actually, that was right before the G8 protests in Calgary. As a documentary filmmaker, I get to explore. I get to go to school every day when we do a different project. So I started to find a niche in these kind of social documentaries, and I started to build a team. Let's go to the next. I started to build a team, and in Atlantic Canada, we've built a wonderful business based on mostly Atlantic Canadian customers. I've got 11 employees now, but we'd shoot TV ads, we'd shoot corporate videos, we would do television shows. We did a TV show called Planet Luxury, and we filmed all around the world's most expensive luxury items. So bizarre, that world. It was amazing. Like $1 million hat, $72,000 bottle of scotch, a 60-year-old Macallan. That was really good. There's so many interesting things that we were doing, but it wasn't really focusing on social impact. I just wanted to demonstrate a portion of my life where I was trying to build a company here in Atlantic, Canada. I was getting to a point where we were starting to get into projects that weren't lining up very well with my values. Remember those first values that I had of triple bottom line, or my understanding of that? And this is certainly not a dig at all on the companies that we've worked with to build this company. It just felt like a little bit of a derailment. So we made some tough decisions. And the last tough decision I made was a really interesting one. It was involved with the lobby group that is supporting the shale gas industry. And remember, I'm a film production company building a company here in Atlantic, Canada. How do we not get involved with this type of dialogue? And this is pre the violence, pre all the public outcry. But it just sounded like an interesting project for me. I was like, there seems to be some really good science and arguments on the left of this argument, and some really good science and arguments on the right. I want to explore it. I'm a curious guy. So I was engaged in a project. Let's go to the next shot. As we all remember, it led to this. Is everybody aware of the story that we're talking about here? After making that project, before this happened, it was just another project that came and left. When this happened, that little film resurfaced and started to circle all over social media, and I was doing this, like this, and because I didn't realize, and this is not a personal opinion by any means on my perspective on shale gas development at all, but this is me saying my company is getting involved in my own community with stories that are dividing a community and with stories that are leading to some stuff like this. And I was like, I don't want my Hemmings House brand to be associated with this. Not that I don't want it to be associated with oil and gas and energy projects and stuff like this, but I was like, if it's going to lead to this, let's respectfully say, let's focus on something else. And that's where, just to rewind a little bit more. Once this film started to recirculate, my own community here in New Brunswick, people I respect a lot, started to call me out. And it's the first time I've been called out on stuff. And they're like, why are you doing projects like this? And the whole sellout thing. And I've got good responses to all of it. We're all trying to grow businesses here. We're trying to do the right thing at all times. And I've learned a lot from this. But it really, I couldn't sleep at night over this. And I was trying to figure out why. And then I also wanted to say, how do I grow a business in Atlantic, Canada without dealing with these type of stories? Like, it's all around us. Then I was at that point, I was like, I need to start focusing outside, larger. So we became a B Corp. We learned about B Corp. We became a B Corp to protect ourselves from ourselves. We knew what our vision was, what our mission was. We knew that we wanted to make the world a better place. But to do that, we wanted to have an insurance policy that would give us a real excuse to say, respectfully, no, we don't want to do this type of work. We're just very focused on this small niche, which is where we are today. So we went through a revisioning session at our company to figure out what is Hemmings House all about. And the vision statement that came out the other end was, we're a company of storytellers that want to create a happy and kind world fueled by passionate storytelling. And to articulate that, we made this 60-second video. Press play.
We have a vision of a happy and kinder world, fueled by passionate storytelling, where storytellers and difference makers come together to share ideas that bring hope and positive change to the world, where healthy and profitable businesses have the power to change our communities for the better, where the global community embraces empathy and we realize a new way of doing, and stories educate, facilitate, and relate to the heart in ways that inspire people to take positive action. We believe that you have a story to tell. A story that can transform local and global communities. And we're here to help you share these stories.
Once we were able to articulate our vision statement and make a video for the front of our webpage, it was almost like that, like I said earlier, an insurance policy. We're telling the world what we stand for, not what we stand against, what we stand for. And that's what the B Corp community is all about. You will never hear the B Corp community say, we're against this. They're going to say, we're for this. We're for human rights. We're for the environment. We're for anything for positive impact. So once we drew our line, some amazing things started happening. We started to get contracts in places like Colombia and all through the United States, and we're now becoming a thought leader in the space of using film to create positive social change. It's something that we've actually been doing for many years, but didn't really know it. And this has been really exciting for us because now my whole team is engaged in something that we all believe in. We're going in the same direction. So I'm going to conclude with a section of my latest film called The Millennial Dream. It's going to be released live sometime very soon. But this is the B Corp section, okay? In this particular film. It's going to explain a fair bit. So with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for your time and allowing me to come share a little bit of my story. I want to keep talking. I'm a talker. I do feel it's important for you guys to see this, though. So I will say thank you right now, and we will roll the clip.
The engine that once powered the American dream is now largely being built offshore. One indicator is the manufacturing sector. In 1965, manufacturing accounted for 53% of the US economy. By 2004, it accounted for just 9%. But success in the new economy is less about the type of product or service being offered and more about why companies are in business in the first place. And even the giants of the past are re-examining the social and environmental impact of their operations.
We are now in this post-industrial era where one of the jobs is clean up some of what the industrial era left behind in its rush to be cheap. And number two is figure out how to create meaning in what people do, because we're not able to buy as much stuff either because we've bought it already, we don't have a place to put it, or we're out of money.
In recent years, there has been significant growth in a new kind of company. Companies that have more than one bottom line. Profit is vital, but so are the planet and people. In a small Ontario farming town of 2,000, Beau's Brewery is a prime example of a new economy company. Since opening 9 years ago, Beau's has experienced rocketing sales in the crowded craft beer market.
Most of our customers start their relationship with us because they like the beer. But there's that moment where they turn from being customers into fans, and that's usually when they find out something really wonderful about us. Oh, it's organic. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, and you guys supported this charity that I really believe in. Oh, that's really cool. And oh, you're doing that initiative for the environment. It explains why we can grow by over 40% a year while having pretty much a $0 advertising budget. Word of mouth really only works if you give people something really cool to say.
The bottom line for emerging companies is that making money is not the only goal.
The idea of maximizing shareholder value being the only purpose for business just never really rang true to me. Don't get me wrong, if we can't keep the lights on, everything goes away. So it's important to focus on the first of the three bottom lines, but if that's all that you're doing, there's really, to my mind, no reason for you to exist.
Positive social impact is the second bottom line. New economy companies view employees as team members who take on big responsibility, but are rewarded with high job satisfaction.
We give people realistic but difficult objectives and encourage them and give them the resources and the support they need to achieve them. And then it's up to them to make it happen. While it's very empowering, it's also, for a lot of people, very scary. You know, if they've not been in that kind of work environment before.
Our best type of worker is somebody that almost has an entrepreneurial type spirit, somebody that can take their initiative. You need to get your job done and you are responsible for your deliverables. But at the same time, you don't feel crushing pressure on yourself by any means while you're working here. So you work hard because you want to work hard, because you want the company to succeed.
It's motivated workers colliding with a demanding but inspiring workplace. Beau's was the first brewery in Canada to achieve B Corp status. B Corp is an association of triple bottom line companies that share this understanding that business must care for the environment, be a benefit to its employees, and be a positive social agent as it earns profit.
People quite often ask, how can you afford to do that? And you really reverse the question around is, if we weren't doing that, almost all of this wouldn't exist. And in a crowded marketplace where there's lots of great beer out there, having all of the extra things that we do is maybe that one extra reason someone buys our beer, or one extra reason for them to talk about our beer to someone else. And all those one extra reasons really start adding up. Companies that do the right thing for the right reason tend to outperform everyone else.
Rather than joining the race to the bottom or exalting profit above all else, B Corps and their like point the way toward a dream of a just society, a healthier planet, and maybe a better life.